Hey Saints fans, welcome back to the channel where today we're going to do a film study on Kendre Miller, where we're going to discuss the things that he did well against the Los Angeles Chargers, as well as things that maybe still need to be worked on and improved. Whereas week one, we kind of talked about how he just didn't look all there yet. And, you know, that's pretty common. You'll have rookie players who maybe struggle with NFL game speed and things like that. Well, we're going to talk about all the different plays. We're going to look at some power run. We're going to look at some outside zone runs. We're going to look at even the passing game, which if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, you know how important that is for the running back position to get right. So let's go ahead and drop into it. As always, I like to drop this reminder. Number one, a single film study that you find on YouTube or an article is not enough to build a full scouting report, which is what we try to focus on, building scouting reports and player evaluation. So take everything with a grain of salt, understand that it is not enough to know everything you need to know, but it does help you get started. And number two, if you want to support the channel, check out revjuice.com. Either get you a t-shirt, hat, or sign up to support us monthly so we can make more content like this. Let's go ahead and roll into the film work. And if you got questions, you are more than welcome to drop them down here as we go through it. Just tag what timestamp if you have a question, and I'll be glad to answer it. Let's roll it. First one we're going to take a look at here is actually, in my opinion, a very positive rep. Power blocking, a little bit of a pin and pull action going on here, but the initial lane is designed to go to, which is kind of like this, you know, a C gap right here. We're trying to get to about right here as we're going to have everybody kind of blocked down, and then we're going to pull our guard, and our fullback is going to lead, and we're going to try to come right through here with our guy Miller. So as it goes through, he's got to be able to show quick spatial agility, as in moving from one spot to the other very quickly and be able to recognize this on the fly, because at the point of the handoff, this is where you're naturally going to be reading. So here he's got to read. As soon as he gets the ball, where do we need to go? So you can see the design is we've got this getting blocked down, and we're hoping that this clears out, and we're wanting the fullback to clear out as well. And then we got this block coming from the wide receiver. Now, clearly, as he gets closer, that lane has not fully opened. You've not perfectly cleared this out where you've got a little bit of trash in the way. You do have Holtz getting to the second level, which is part of what you're looking for. This hasn't reached and cleared out yet, and your fullback is getting beat, backward momentum. So you have a gap that you could attempt to get skinny through, but likely going to just get into a host of bodies, or using really good lateral agility, you're going to plant and break and hit the outside. The drawbacks to hitting the outside are you don't really have blockers, but at the same time, hopefully all of this has gotten congested in the middle of the space. And if you do it quickly enough, you can get a positive gain, which you end up doing here. This play is going to start right at that. You see this hash line right here, and we're going to get about a 4 or 5 yard gain. We'll take any type of positive we can have out of what was pretty much a negative blocking rep. You didn't clear out what you wanted to, but you got to see him have good vision, display the lateral agility needed to break out to that. And more importantly, he didn't try to turn this into an east-west match. All the lateral movement was made to simply get north-south. The goal of any running back should be running north and south. It's actually one of the things that for those old school Saints fans remember back in the Reggie Bush days, we can kind of complain a little bit because in college he could go east-west really easily just based on him being more athletic than everybody else. And while I do think that Kendre Miller, he has a fantastic athletic profile, you want to run north-south. So you didn't see him try to push this all the way to the outside and beat that DB. He gets right upfield from it. So I think that's a good rep, and let's look at some more. All right, another run here, this time from the gun. We have a little bit of a handoff and draw kind of play. And as you see this develop, we're going to see the, in my opinion, good vision. You don't have a lot from the blocking standpoint, as you do see 76 get beat a little bit here, but you do see a lot of great lower leg drive. When we talk about one thing that I liked about Miller coming in is his ability to run with a little bit of power. Now, I do think that in terms of styles, he's closer to an Alvin Kamara than he is a Jamal Williams, but he's neither of those guys. He's his own independent player, and I love this lower leg drive and to see this balance as he fights for positive yards. As you see on the actual yardage marker, where he needs to get past to make a positive play, running in, he's only going to get about 3 yards. But again, not seeing a lot of push from this backup offensive line. He's got to make do with what he has. If you look at the box score of Miller here in this game, you're not going to think that he did very well, but I actually think that he has more positive reps than negative reps. In fact, I'd say almost all of his reps were pretty positive in general, though you want to see a better performance. 76 allowing his guy to beat him inside and immediately get hands on Miller creates a little bit of a problem. So Good job by him to drive and try to force a play into something. This is what you want to have. We talk about running backs who fall forward, and that's kind of an example of that. Look, you're going to try to hit your hole, which hasn't really opened up. If you had maintained this block, you would have had that lane to kind of break through and hit that second level, but you didn't. So what do you do now? We're going to engage. Then we're going to try to use that momentum of these big bodies that we have and push through the pile and keep driving those legs. Really, really like that play. It's only 3 yards, but it's that gritty, old school type of a play. And you need those. I mean, it's just truth is, in today's league, you need to be able to play physical. It's just how it is. We're getting back in some ways to that old school football. So good to see this type of a play, even if it's not a splash flash play. All right, this one is going to be a swing play. Figure, well, let's go do a pass and let him swing out into the flat. Now, this one, a little bit of a breakdown, scramble drill, but I chose it because I get a lot of questions, and I did ask this on Twitter. What would you like to see about Miller? What questions do you have? And one of the ones that continues to pop up, whether it's on the podcast or on social media, is the health of that right knee. For those that don't know, last year he did have an MCL sprain and had a little bit of that right knee bothering so far this year. Now, you'll notice he is wearing a brace, and I'm going to let this final angle come through. The reason I wanted to show you this is not, again, because the swing play isn't necessarily amazing. It's because of how he's able to plant and show explosiveness from that right leg, which is something that we would be concerned about if we were worried about that not being 100%. Now, again, I am not a medical doctor, so I cannot tell you with 100% certainty that he's amazing on that right knee. But what I can say is what you see in this play, as it, get the breakdown happening, Winston's going to scramble to his right. What he does is plant and launch from that right knee, and that allows him to make this play. Let's go back and watch it at the wide angle. So from here, look at that right knee. We're going to plant and explode from it. Bam. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on that injury that we've talked about. So this would seem to indicate that, yes, he actually is either healthy or getting healthy, and that brace is also helping him stay that way. So those curious, good rep to not only show that he can get some positive yards in a dead situation, but also that he's doing it on the knee that we were worried about him favoring. Another positive rep play, but also at the same time, things that we can improve on. One thing I do love to always talk about is we don't do highlight films on this channel. We are not here to just show you everything that happens. In fact, I got to the point where I kind of hate the word highlight because it only highlights the good things. Well, let's talk about what he could do better. So he does get this ball a little bit behind him. That's on Jameis Winston. But one thing about this is he's releasing out and coming into his break is I want to see more suddenness. Now, he's a smooth mover, which is something that I've used to describe Alvin Kamara quite a bit. But in this, as he's going to come out, and you'll see AK even do this better, I want to see you break sharply and quickly. I want to see some suddenness and some explosion so that you can create separation from that linebacker. In fact, that's one of the things that Alvin Kamara does so well to make all that yards after catch that you constantly see him do as he's going through his prime. Alvin Kamara is sudden, and he's able to just have violent action that's quick, and he's able to use that to create separation. I kind of want to see that from Miller. Now, he is going to get into his route and be in a good position to receive a pass. But what I want to see is a little bit of that, more of that fake to the outside. As you can see, that little jitter did not do anything to sell the outside. The linebacker was not fooled at all. And now he also did not create enough separation. Now he's not exploding through. So he does have a good yard separation, but it's nothing crazy. Had this ball been thrown in front of him, he's still going to have to fight through contact. If he was more sudden and better in the actual release of that break, maybe he gets 2.5 yards of separation. And that's the point where we talk about being able to create yards after catch. You can't do it as well with only about a yard. You're probably going to not have the angle needed to turn that into more, and then the linebacker or whoever's covering you is going to get to you. So just something to note, I don't think he's a bad receiver. In fact, I think you're going to see a lot of positive plays here. But little things like this, I want to see more suddenness and more of a sell so that he's not just immediately getting caught as soon as he makes a reception. All right, so another run scheme here. They're going to try to run a counter play, but sadly, due to a backside block failing, Miller's going to get stuck and smashed. But I think you see a lot of good in this rep. Let me explain why I actually really like this rep from Miller, just simply talking about trades. So the design of this play is we actually want to pull here, and we want to follow, and it's called a counter play. So we're going to try to show one direction and then move the opposite, right? So keep in mind that his entire paradigm for this play, his entire thought process, everything he's doing is designed to go to his left. Well, at this point, this block on the backside just got completely destroyed. So now we got a free defender coming down the lane. So his design, as you can see, Penning do a good job of blocking down here. and there is your fullback, is to follow here. Well, he's not able to do that now. So look how quickly he reacts, spins out of it, and then tries to get back to the line of scrimmage. This is also why there's two defenders completely unblocked on this backside, because it's never designed to go in that direction. We are trying to pull back and counter. They actually tried to do this a couple times this game, and it fails due to some failed blocks. But I love the ability for him to quickly change his direction and try to get back to the line of scrimmage and go north-south. This is so impressive to me because we're talking about something that's happening in such a quick moment, split second, where his eyes aren't even on this defender. This is a peripheral vision where he's seeing the color flash of blue, understanding that we got to get out of this, plants with his left foot, spins out of it, and then tries to make a play. This is a completely negative play thanks to the backside block failing. But I simply love seeing these traits. And we talk about when we look for something from a guy, even a negative play can have positive traits. And that's kind of what we see from Miller here. The ability to make that TFL miss and then get back to the line of scrimmage. More power running. We do a lot of power running in the first quarter of this game. They do some outside zone. But this one designed to go to the left. Great job to read the hole, get in. I also want to give a shout out to Kawan Baker. Shout out to him. He is somebody that I keep talking about making this roster, or at least having the potential to do that. And the fact that he's a blocking inside receiver is going to certainly help his case. He's also had some really good receptions. For anybody says I'm trying to get a guy on the roster just for blocking. But this is going to be a big deal. We just watched a play where blocking broke down and what it did. So this one, we're going to purposely running power to the left. Anytime you're choosing to run behind pinning, can't be a bad idea. So right here at the handoff, we see that our lanes are full, but we got good blocking here from Baker. We're going to break it outside. Now, if Baker moves left, we're going to break in right. If Baker stays right, we're going to break left. Simple as that. Great read here by Miller. Sees it, sees the turn, goes up. Big play. I mean, it's not an amazing play, but it's positive yards, positive reps, and this is the type of vision you were hoping to see from him. Remember, in Kansas City, you saw him miss some of these holes. And he wasn't reacting quick enough. I don't necessarily think that was on the knee as much as it was game speed, because adapting to NFL play speed and game speed is the real thing. And then you also have to consider, we're talking about a rookie here. First time in the NFL, nerves are also a real thing. So whatever the reason was, he certainly looks better in this game, hitting some of these holes. You'd love to see that. And we'll look at a couple more, so it's not just the power scheme that he's doing this with, also can do it with the inside-outside zone, where we do I love wide zone, but the bend, the bang, and the bounce. We'll talk about that run style here in just a minute. The cool thing about me saying just a minute is after edits, you actually get to do it immediately. So this is an outside zone run, and this is another example of a missed block, but him fighting to turn in positive yards. So for those who are unaware, you can tell a play is an outside zone play by the offensive line blocks. If you say the entire offensive line moving in one direction, turning in one direction, that's zone. Yeah, power block doesn't work like that. Zone block does, where you're going to block into the area that you're moving into. That's zone blocking. That's what we're doing here. Everybody's moving and blocking in the area that they're going in. Whole idea is movement creates space. That way it opens up multiple running lanes. Now, sadly, the key point here is going to lose. That left tackle is going to lose and get broken through. We don't like to see that. Miller now has got the handoff. He's got to fight for yards. So good job to fight and continue to show good play strength to try to get back to the line of scrimmage. This had the potential to be a nice run, but sadly, thanks to the left tackle losing his rep, you're not going to have that. You would have had a nice one-on-one with a DB that he could have run through this lane, but that's not ends up being the case. A little bit of a fight for traffic, but still, I think the idea and the vision was good, but I also want to include plays like this because there's always those people who look at the box score or they simply don't have access to watch the game again. That's all you can go off of. Well, a lot of the runs that ended up being negatives weren't on Miller, and hopefully so far this, you've seen that, hopefully. But anyway, let's continue going. Wheel route. Beautiful throw by Winston, by the way. And Winston did not have a great game throwing, but this is one of the best throws that we've seen by any quarterback in a Saints uniform this year through camp, preseason, etc. Wheel route, beautiful. I actually love his little hezzy here because I talked about earlier. Remember earlier in the video, I talked about his hezzy not really doing much, not really moving a defender. This time it does. So let's watch this in full speed. He's going to swing out. Little bit of that, kind of hip dive. Does just enough to freeze for half a second the feet of the DB. And now we use that athletic ability to bust to the next level right there. Now that we've gotten on top of him, fantastic play. And when we talk about, receivers, one thing that gets talked about from a trait perspective is the ability to track the ball in the air. Well, the cool thing about this play as a wheel route, you're probably going to end up with a one-on-one, especially if you're playing against a single high coverage, whether that be cover 1, cover 3, some match systems. You're not playing a cover 2 high or quarters. It's probably going to have somebody sitting in that zone. In this one, you've got a one-on-one through this wheel route, and now you're carrying it to the very top. What can it do for you? Well, if you made him sink his hips and sink down in his feet, you're going to get on top of him. You can track the ball and then go out and extend for an amazing reception. Great hands, great ability to track the ball over the shoulder, and just a very, very good route with that nice little sudden hesitation. This is the type of play that you hope to see more from Miller long term. Back onto my favorite outside zone. So with this one, this actually turns to a touchdown again. Good read here. We actually have solid blocking, and now we get to see Miller do what he does best. Read the play and know what he's got to do. So how's it looking here? Couple things we always talk about. One, when it comes to outside zone, the entire goal is to create 3 different rushing lanes. That's the goal. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's okay. The first thing that you want to take advantage of is simply banging it up the main gap. That's the bang side of it. The bounce would be to bounce it outside if that's an option. Or if these break down, you bend it back. Now, you actually have 2 of these lanes open. You've got the bend open. You've got the bang open. Bounce is closed. But the primary is you want to go right here. Remember, we're talking about being north-south. It's beauty of the outside zone is when it's working, it gives running backs a lot of options. And running backs that have good field vision can take advantage of that. Now, good job by 62 here to get into that block, wall it off. Great job by 73 to get the drive. Saldivari, like his positioning as well. But good job by Miller to get skinny through the hole, ride the hip of the inside offensive lineman, and that's important. You want to ride that inside hip and then explode through it to get your touchdown. Now, the reason it's important to get skinny here and ride the hip is, one, the closer you are to the interior hip of the offensive lineman, the more north-south you're naturally going to be moving. Whereas if you are going here, you can see we've rounded it out a little bit more. You're also going against momentum. Whereas some of these guys could be trying to peel around. You could have a DB or something. But if you've got your offensive lineman who's turned completely parallel to the line of or to the sideline, well, now you're going to have a wall you can literally run through. And the closer you scrape to that wall, the more chance you have of being in space instead of being closer to a defender. So love that he gets skinny, loves that he explodes north-south immediately here, and that goes for a touchdown fighting through that ankle tackle. It's a 7-yard run, 7-yard TD run. So very positive play. Love the zone here. Great job by the offensive line. It's not perfect, but it's enough for Miller to get to his main hole, get through, score a touchdown with good explosion, good read, good vision, all the things you're hoping to see from him in a Saints uniform. You see here, because especially you're hoping to see him put up them 7s. All right, so this was actually going to have a holding penalty, but I chose to include it because it's another example of the outside zone run. I actually really like it from him. And there's a penalty that draws it back, but it's a positive play, and I want to talk about it. From the 15-yard line, you're going to see him get some positive yards. So he's going to cut up field, get about 5-6 yards from it, and it does get called back. But let's talk about it as a whole, because even reps that don't count still count when it comes to evaluating a player. So at the handoff, remember we're doing the same thing before. Bounce, well, that's closed off. How is it closed off? Because we lost that block right there. So the bounce is gone. The bend would be cutting it back, or we bang it straight forward. Now, the bend is an option. I will say that his body positioning kind of eliminates this one. So when it comes to outside zone running, something to maybe look at is if he was intending to bounce this, he kind of sold it and that's gone. He's only left himself really one option. So when you're at the handoff, you kind of have to almost play it more neutral. This is where that patience comes in that we talk about Alvin Kamara having a lot. The ability to be patient and then explode when you made your choice. He's kind of taking the third choice on the backside out of it. But at the same time, it's fine. We see him plant, move north. And this goes back to what I just talked about the last rep. The knee looks good here. I mean, the plant and then hitting that forward momentum is pretty quick. 1 step, 2 step. Again, it's not 1 step in pure, but it is 1 step. Now we're heading north and we're launching again. So again, I don't know for certain about the knee. I think it's a good break. I think it's good reading. He cuts north as soon as he hits that first big plant on his right leg. You see him move north to where he's trying to go. And then as the hole develops, he breaks outside of it. I don't think that shows any issue with the knee personally, and it turns to a positive play. Now, the hold, for those who are curious where the hold happens, I'll show you exactly where it happens. It sucks because it's actually at the end of the play almost. But watch to the right side real quick. As this block gets lost right here, 62, bam. You talk about the job of this back judge. He's going to see that every time. That's in plain daylight. At that point, let him go. I mean, the running back should be past you time-wise. At that point, as an offensive lineman, just let it go because that's going to get called, and you just took away 5 positive yards. So anyway, as a play, I think this is a positive rep for Miller. I think we see him being mostly healthy. That doesn't mean there aren't things that can get better, but there you got it. Another positive outside zone read. Last rep of the day here. I want to take a look at a pass blocking rep. Yeah, we're talking pass blocking. We're talking pass blocking. Not the cleanest ever, but it's enough to open up the throwing lane, which should have been a fantastic catch up the seam by 87 that he ends up getting knocked out. Got to work on that hand strength, young man. Great outside play. Bust back into it. It's right there. You got to hold on to that football, though. He doesn't. But, let's talk about Miller as a pass blocker. You didn't see him have a lot of pass block reps in this game, something I want to see more of, but he's the only person here to defend the A-gaps. Does a good job to get contact on, and sure, a lot of people want to see you lock up and drive out as a running back, but the real key is you want to clear up the passing lane. That's something that they teach offensive linemen. It's not just about winning your block and pass protection. As an offensive lineman, you actually want to clear out your guy and wall them off. You want to open up this throwing lane. So Miller does a good job to attack the shoulder of that blitzer, get him just enough out the way so the throwing lane is open so that Winston can make the throw. Is it a perfect pass block route? I wouldn't call it perfect, but I would say it's effective, and that's what you need. Open up the lane. That pass should have been caught. Hopefully Jimmy Graham or Juwan Johnson or Taysom Hill make that catch instead of 87. But as a rep, I like it as a rep, and hopefully he'll continue to get better at it. That's an effective pass block rep there by Miller. All right, Saints fans, so I hope you enjoyed this film study going through Miller's tape from the second preseason game here for 2023. As a whole, I think he's a solid and actually a really good prospect. I will admit that there are legitimate concerns about that right knee, but hopefully it remains healthy and continues to get healthier. You can see he's wearing that brace, and he had some very nice cuts in this game to show that that knee is definitely healthy enough to play and to make some really nice plays and definitely get that forward momentum going. At the same time, there are other things that he can improve on. I mean, his vision, not perfect, but certainly not bad, and certainly not to the degree of what we thought it was leaving the first preseason game of this year. So we will continue to watch Miller, and we will continue to hopefully see improvement and growth in what has been a very exciting offseason. And he's gotten crowned a little bit early, and I'll admit, I'm excited about him too. But at the same time, he's developing. We're seeing him put on some really good tape, and we'll see how that translates into the regular season, especially with Alvin Kamara missing games due to suspension. If you enjoyed the video, a couple things to ask you to do real quick. Hey, like the video if you haven't already. It's real simple. Hit the like button. Shout out Who Dat in the comment section down below if you enjoy these film studies. I love replying to everybody that I can. So if you type something, I'm probably going to say something. And also, if you want to support the channel one more time, check out the merch store. It's revdeuce.com. You can actually sign up to support us monthly, as little as $5 a month, so I can make more film studies like this for y'all, and I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you on the next one. Who Dat? God bless. Deuces. That's me. We'll see you on the podcast and the film study.